So pleasure to be here. Thanks to all of you who stopped by our booth. I'm from Atsign, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. But before I start, can I ask how many of you here do DevRel? I know he does. Okay, one. I mean, any aspiring DevRels? Okay, there you go. So at least for two people, it's going to be useful, and I'm sure a lot of people are online or watching this. So as you can see here, we're going to talk about a very different way to do DevRel. I mean, there are very traditional models to do DevRel. I'm not saying they're not useful, but at Atsign, I mean, we try to do everything in reverse, and it succeeded for us. We try to flip the internet. That's what we do. And here to talk to you about some of our methodologies that worked really well for us. It might be applicable for you as well. So first up, for those of you who don't know me, I already mentioned I'm from Atsign. I lead our DevRel and our community work. I don't and I come mostly from the consulting background, done this with a lot of big companies that you can see, and this is totally different. A lot of times, so much fun and exciting, right? That's what makes this job. Meeting all of you is a big part of it. So first up, before we start DevRel, I mean, I want to talk to you about why we actually tried to flip it. And that is mainly because of the way the Flutter community or the Dart community has expanded and grown over the last few years. So a few characteristics about all of us in this room, right? We can all call ourselves part of the Flutter and Dart community. First thing is, this room is a reflection, or this conference is a reflection of the first part. It's truly global. We have Flutter and Dart devs from every nook and corner of the world, right? I mean, it's just amazing how Twitter has brought us together, the different Slack groups has brought us together. We are a truly global community. And alongside that, we are diverse as well. Again, what we see here is just a sample size of how diverse we are as a community. And there are so many experience levels. I mean, what I've seen personally is a lot of people are just coming in. You know, people say 1 year in Dart and Flutter, 2 years in Dart and Flutter. I mean, as it is, the technology itself is not like 10 years old. So a lot of newbies are coming into the community as we speak right now, right? So what that means is so many different types of questions, so many different types of code samples that we need to prepare and explain and educate all these people as we are doing this. And then everyone is super eager to learn, right? And some people like videos, some people like to read, some people like to look at other people's GitHub repos and do stuff, right? So many different unique learning habits available with the developers. And I think you can agree with all of this. We're not the most patient bunch, right? If something doesn't work, we are like, oh, I mean, let me move on to something else. I give up on this. Or there are a few people who don't give up. But I mean, I've seen people very easily give up. People look for solutions or just Google these answers. So very impatient bunch. And then whether this is good or bad, I mean, I think it's good from a growth perspective for the community. Most of this happened during the pandemic. I mean, the explosion of people who got into the Flutter community and Dart community was largely thanks to us staying at home. People figuring out. I think Michael was talking about the fact that he's a Flutter dev by night, iOS developer during the day, right? A number of us have done this, right? So all in all, this community is so unique. It's a community like no other, right? Because of all these different aspects. And there's no other community that kind of replicates this model like we have with the Flutter and Dart community. So you look at the traditional models. If you've looked into how you do DevRel, these are some of the most popular models that you'll see out there, right? Whether it is through the devrelbook.com or the multiple A's and the RRRP models that is out there, which is a pretty popular model by Phil, which I've taken into account some of those aspects as well. So these are the models that are already available as to how you start with awareness and how you go to engagement and all that good stuff. But I'm here to talk to you about how we reverse this for the Flutter community and tell you reasons why. So one thing to note in this one is you see a referral there, awareness, acquisition, activation, and referral comes later on. So in our model, we'll talk about a flipped approach to DevRel. So what that means is we're going to actually start with referrals. So what we did with our platform, which is open source as well, I mean, the Flutter community is a big part of whom we speak to, is we actually try to talk to everybody out there. For us, speaking to everyone gives us a lot of feedback. What is good about it? What do you like about it? Things like that. We didn't try to do awareness campaigns in the beginning. Instead, we said, whoever is willing to talk to us, we'll talk to you. We'll tell you what we're trying to do. How do you make your lives easier? So we actually started at the end trying to engage people and do the referral. And another big aspect to consider, especially in the DevRel world, is to make as many things open source as possible, right? Because the community will take over and help you after that. So open source is a big tool for you to rely on as a DevRel person. The second one is capture all the feedback. The whole developer experience is something that a lot of companies miss out on. How do people come into your website? Where do they start? Are they looking for videos in the first place? Are they looking for documentation in the first place? All of that is super important. And then continue to take care of enhancing that experience for the developer community. Step 3 is a lot of what you need to do in terms of self-reflection, and improving the quality of code. Work with your engineering team, work with your product team to make sure you apply the feedback that you've gotten from steps 1 and 2 within the community, right? So backwards, 3 steps. And step 4 is, this is something where we spend a lot of time on, is just hand-holding people build on our product, right? Because for some of them, because we saw the whole experience levels, they are new to Flutter, they are new to our technology as well, which is built on Flutter. It's a little confusing. So a lot of hand-holding comes in super handy when it comes to trying to have them try a brand new technology, right? So assist people as much as possible, spend as much time as possible with helping the devs with the new product. And then this is a no-brainer. I mean, for any new tech, content is king, right? So content, and like I said on step 1, open source it as much as you can. I mean, the community will help you beyond that, right? So content in all possible forms is super important to take care of all those different learning habits. And then, much like this community, the community will take over after that, right? I mean, if it's just word of mouth, people will say good things about what you're doing, people will say bad things about what you're doing, but it's important to soak it all in and take care of putting that back into your product, putting it back into your website, your developer experience, and all of that. So that's basically DevRel flipped. So we start from the end, from the traditional model perspective, to talk to everyone possible, try to help them adopt the technology, and then continue to improve on your content, and then the community will take over after that, right? So that is basically the flipped model of what DevRel looks like, at least what's worked for us as an example. I mean, we have a Discord channel that we do for our tech. We have close to 4,000 developers on that in about 18 months or so, following this model, right? Right now, our focus is on IoT, so we're talking to a lot of enterprise companies, but the developer community is super important to us. I mean, we are fully open source. It's built on Dart, and the apps are built on Flutter, so this community is super important to what we do as well, right? That's my contact. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions if we have time, but happy to talk to you about our flipped model as well.